Today on CityCast Madison. It's Thursday, so we are dishing on Madison's food scene. Our city is frankly blessed with an abundance of fresh summer produce, so naturally, our farmers markets are off the chain. And yes, I said markets, plural. Of course, our Dane County Farmers Market on the Capitol Square is one of the nation's biggest, so it gets a ton of shine. But are you in the know about all the smaller yet mighty markets across the city? Our friend Lindsay Christians of the Cap Times gives us pro tips for market shopping any day of the week. It's Thursday, May 18th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Hey, Lindsay.
Hi.
So, there is a farmer's market almost every day of the week in Madison.
Yes. And if you include the little surrounding areas, it's every day. Every day.
Every day. Let's start with the big one, the market on the square on Saturday mornings. I'm embarrassed to say that it's pretty much the only one I've been to. Because I always lived on the Isthmus. So I'm really excited about this combo.
Yeah, no, that's great.
It's the original.
It is the original in 1972, I think. Yeah, 1972. It's 51 years old this year. And it has had an incredible impact on our food scene here. So think about like food scenes in other cities that are of comparable size or bigger. And Madison's food scene is so incredible and so varied, in part because of the impact of this market. So I think it's wonderful that that's the one you go to.
Yes. And I love that one. It is so immense, as you were kind of saying. Like, there's a lot happening. And if you haven't been there, like, so much foot traffic, and it can be kind of intense. Do you have any pro tips for shopping at that market?
I absolutely do. I feel like the best pro tip that I always ignore is go early. I never go early. Like I know that you're supposed to, and it's like better if you do, and it's not
best laid plans
as crowded, but I can't go early. So go early if you are that person. If you're not that person like me, my pro tip is if you go a couple times and you get kind of the lay of the land, you can park near the stuff you want. So I think sometimes people think of farmers market shopping in a different way than they do of grocery shopping. But if you actually want to get vegetables, for example, or in my case, this time of year, I'm going specifically to the market because I want to get plant starts. I want to get herbs, and I want to get like the plants to put in my hanging baskets that I keep year to year until they break. So I know where like I've been before, and I like made a little pin in my mind or made a little note of like, oh, okay, that's going to be over on the east side of the square. So I'm going to park knowing like where I'm going to be coming and like where I want to, what I want to get and where I'm going for. So I think that's one thing.
That's brilliant, because it is around the entire Capitol Square.
Yes, it really is. And so when I was working on my first book a few years ago, I was walking around the square with Francesca Hong, who is a co-owner of Moore's Ramen. And we were coming down, we were going around, the different sides of the square, and she was stopping and she was picking up mushrooms and alliums and all these different things. And as we were coming down, the one that's like between, like after you pass State Street, like as soon as you pass the State Street corner, that corner, she believes that corner, that like leg of the square is the most expensive.
Like over to West Wash. So like State Street over to.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's like the cheesy bread place is like right on that corner, right?
It totally is.
That makes sense. And honestly, I'm realizing, I guess because this is the one I've been to, I could share a couple of tips that I would recommend, which is don't try to do it all at once.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can walk around it all if you want to. Like, yeah, I get crazy. But like you're saying, maybe just like pick off like a few shops so you can become a regular and like test it out. Maybe you don't like it, very unlikely, but just like do a little at once. And also, if you're claustrophobic feeling, just step away. I feel like I would just have to step away, like literally, maybe even cross the street, but like get out of the foot traffic. It is okay. I'm like talking about preparing it like it's Black Friday, but like it kind of like you are in that crowd like moves and you join them. It's a wave. It's a motion in the ocean.
I like having a picnic blanket set up, and like my husband will sit there with like his book and whatever, and I just like pop over and I get something here, and then I just drop it off for him, and he's like packing the tote bags full, and it's great, and it means I don't have to carry it all.
Oh my God, you are so cute and beautiful, and I love that. I've never actually done that, but that is a great recommendation. So I also heard that they have fresh bagels now.
Yeah, Lisa Jacobson used to own Mermaid Cafe before it was Mint Mark over on Winnebago, yeah. And so she started Bare Bones Bagels a couple of years ago, maybe a year or two ago, and they were making them out of Harmony Bar. So I think they've rebranded them with the Mermaid Kitchen brand now, and that they're doing fresh bagels in the square, which is amazing. I have yet to get there early enough to actually get any because they keep selling out. So pro tip, go early for the bagels.
Another reason to go early.
You used to be able to reserve them too. And I don't know if you still can do that, but I would I've placed orders before and then gone to get them.
Of course, like I've always been drawn to the Gotham bagels on the square. So I'm excited to hear that there's some like really like poppin' new bagels that I need to try out something new. What else is in season right now?
Oh my gosh. So I went to the first market of the year with a friend of mine who's been living in California. And we were walking around the square and I said, okay, so the thing that you have to remember is nothing is in the ground yet. Like there's hoop houses, right? And then we have greenhouses and there's some hydroponic stuff, but
it's early,
especially early on. Now that's not really true anymore. Like we're getting into May, things are in the ground a little bit more. I've got some stuff in the ground. We're past the frost date. So things will start to really pick up, but especially early on, it's like 40, 50 vendors and the height of the season, it's like 150, right? So keeping in mind that Wisconsin is Wisconsin and our season is just beginning. And even though you'll see like, your beautiful food magazines are like peas and asparagus and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it takes us a little longer. Things that are currently in season, radishes, rhubarb, really wonderful frost sweetened spinach, and a lot of those herb and plant starts. I just got a couple of little cherry tomato plants to put in if you're doing planting.
Is there a better word to say in a Wisconsin accent than rhubarb?
Oh my gosh.
Like rhubarb? I mean, because it's just like barb, I like rhubarb makes me so excited for no reason. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's great. I made a rhubarb strawberry tart the other day and it was amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was really good.
I will say, I have heard from some folks that, locals, they say, maybe leave that one to the tourists. That's like when people are visiting. What do you think about that for the square?
So on one hand, I don't 100% agree with that. Like I will go to the market specifically for certain vendors that I really like. And it depends on what my Saturday looks like. But I also know from my own habits, I tend to shop in Monona because that's the one that's close to me. Or I shop at the East Side Market, the East Side Farmers Market on Tuesdays. So I think you make it work with your schedule. Like if your goal is to be forming connections with local farmers and to be eating more locally and seasonally, like you got to do what works for you, right? And I don't think you should feel, it's sort of a value neutral kind of thing, like a good, bad, indifferent. Like if the farmers market downtown works best for you, do that, if it doesn't, that's all right.
So those are on Saturdays. Also on Saturday is the West Side Market, another big and long-running local market. And I hear that it moved. Like, what happened to the market?
Yeah. So our wonderful producer, Molly Sense, had some good info about this, that it was the DOT building parking lot on University and then got moved when they were rebuilding that building, moved over to UW Digestive Health for a little while and then moved again. And they're now at UW Research Park off of Rose Road, which I have been pronouncing wrong for a very long time.
But isn't it fun to know now it's Rose? I mean, it is. We love Rose.
Rose all day. So that market, I feel like that one was kind of culty for a while. Like if you knew, you knew, and people would go, and it was a lot of times it was really
West Side.
It was high quality folks, wonderful producers who just couldn't get into the bigger market because there was a long waiting list for a really long time. There are 20 new vendors this year at the Dane County Farmers Market, and that turnover has been a little bit higher, I think, since the pandemic, during and since. But the West Side Market was where you could get Dream Farm goat cheese, which is Diana Murphy. She started out working with Vermont Valley, the CSA, and then has really expanded her business, which is wonderful. That's great goat cheese. There's Lacey Rude Brewed Kombucha.
Sounds dreamy.
There's just Stella's Bakery has a truck there.
Okay. If you don't want to fight folks for it downtown.
Yeah. Bryant Family Farms is a poultry producer. They are also at the Monona Market, I should say. That's one where like I will go. I got a duck for Thanksgiving one year from Bryant Family Farms, and then I really ruined it. I just did a very bad job cooking that duck, but they were very nice about it, and they gave me some tips the next time I came. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I felt kind of bad. I was like, well, it was really dry. We ate it, but
but it's good to have that like relationship and feel like someone's got your back.
Exactly. That's the wonderful thing about these producer markets is you can ask them questions about stuff that maybe you're like, wait, how do I cook with this? They can help you.
Totally. So yeah, it sounds like that West Side Market's trying to find their footing, but they've got great, vendors. And they're now at UW Research Park. So there's that. Let's talk about Sunday markets. On Sundays, you got a bunch of options, at least several.
Yes.
Have you been to the market at Edgewood College, the one over on Monroe Street?
So I haven't been down to that one, but I wrote about it when it first opened, and it's been sort of steadily building over the years in terms of what they have to offer down there. It's, down Monroe Street by Edgewood College. One of the things that I like is that it's not limited only to producers. So like you can have people that, maybe make crafts or soaps or sell, used board books or whatever it is, like that you have a kind of a little bit wider variety of vendors. And I think each market has its own parameters and its own rules. But Farmer John got kicked out of the DCFM last year. We wrote a story about it and it was very controversial and entertaining.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is not to out myself, but first of all, Farmer John, I need, and also I need that whole sentence explained to me. Who are we talking about?
So Farmer John he's a cheese vendor.
Okay.
He's not a cheese maker. He's a dairy farmer.
He's not from a fable story. Farmer John.
He's a real person. What he does is he sells milk from his cows to like cheese producers, and then he buys cheese back from those producers and he sells it. So his milk is getting mixed with other people's milk. So he's not a cheesemaker. His cheese is wonderful. Like the cheese that he sells is wonderful, but he's not a cheesemaker. He's not a certified cheesemaker. He sells cheese that is made with his milk. He got kicked out of the market last year because some of the other folks who run the market said, this is not in the rules. This is not how it works. You can't be doing this. And he said, I didn't know I wasn't allowed. And they were like, yes, you did. Anyway, it was a whole thing. But he vends at the market in Monona on Sundays. And he is one where I love that his cheese curds, his mozzarella is delicious. Like I've bought a lot of that cheese. But it's sometimes these smaller markets have different parameters. They're maybe a little bit easier to get into.
That's good. Yeah, it's like the Dane County market is super strict.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, okay, well, I'm going to take my goods over here.
Right. And that, you know what? Like as a purchaser of things, that's delightful. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I get why the rules are the rules, and that's fine too.
Well, there's so much interest to be downtown, but this is the excitement of this conversation is like there's so much in other places.
Yes.
You mentioned one of your favorites or your go-to is Monona, and there's a Sunday market there. Why do you love that one outside of the fact that it is your hood? I
mean, I didn't know until this conversation that they just turned 25. So it's 25 years of that market in Ahuska Park.
They can rent a car.
They can. The thing I really like, besides the size, which is the appeal of a lot of these smaller markets that we're talking about, right? The East Side one, the West Side one, their size and that you can drive up to them, and if you need to, or there's like more room for you to park your bike in some cases. I have my go-to places at the Monona Market. I love Sue Vang has these beautiful flowers. And yes, my cats chew on them, but sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the bouquet of flowers from room to room with me like I'm a bride, just so the cats don't chew on them. But I always get flowers from Sue Vang. And then Stalzy's has a little bread booth. For several years, Crescendo had a little espresso booth, and you can get coffee in the morning, which was great. I really love Emerald Meadows Produce and Two Good Farms. And Don's Produce, they have just a massive table of like all of the things that I want in whatever season it is. So like as soon as it's tomato season, they've got a ton of tomatoes. As soon as it's, I just got a bunch of sweet potatoes and potatoes at the end of the winter market from them. But there are these farms that I kind of keep coming back to. And they have like the Northside Market too. They have music on Sunday mornings.
Love it.
Yeah. And they have kettle corn.
It's such a vibe.
Yeah, totally. And Bryant is there too. So like there's a lot of great variety at some of even these smaller markets.
And I'm living vicariously because I haven't ventured out yet. But I am remembering, like having your little spot that you go to and you're like, you're going to get the goods. Gosh, I'm getting very hungry.
I think too, with some of these smaller markets, if you go every week and you have yours that you go to, it was like summer of 2020. It was like during the pandemic weirds. I saw my friend Sherry at the Monona market, and I hadn't seen anyone like outside of like my immediate circle, like randomly on the street in months. And I saw my friend at the market and I almost started to cry because I was like, oh my God, because it's outdoors and you're shopping outdoors. So it felt a little bit safer, and it felt like, okay, this is local food. It's not as disrupted by the supply chain and all that other stuff that we were worried about in 2020. But I really do think they build community, these small markets.
And that's one of the beautiful things about Madison too, is, that would be so hard for it to disappear. The little moments of seeing people that makes it special here. And so we're talking Sunday. There's also a Southside market that is at the Labor Temple. You can go to that on Sunday. I've got to ask, is Robert Pierce still there?
Yes, it looks like he is. We had him on a panel several years ago, and he's just a wonderful character. Yeah. So a friend of mine posted a photo, and he was like, I got some fresh veggies from Robert. So sounds like he's still there doing the thing. The Southside Market is also a pickup spot now for compost scraps, if that's something that you want to do.
That is huge. I miss composting. I really do. And I've been in an apartment and
yeah. And composting is great, and it sounds like you know how to do it. So you're not putting fat or meat in there. You like their parameters for your compost, right?
Yeah, like coffee grounds and your veggie scraps when you're cutting them up. That's
yes, exactly.
I just feel productive, just like you use it all. But it sounds like so there now you can bring it to the market.
Yes. Yeah, you can bring it to the market. I think the East Side Market also will have a drop off. That's a City of Madison thing that they just announced.
Amazing. That's very useful. And how about the North Side Market?
It sounds like from some of the notes that we have from wonderful producer Molly, that it's dog friendly. It's been a few years since I've been in the North Side Market, but it's really accessible too. Kind of like the West Side Market is, where you can drive there. I love this note. Everything from mariachi music to that guy who plays the humongous xylophone. I think that might be a marimba. I think he's also at the Dane County Farmers Market, and is always like playing beautiful things. The Fresh Cool Drinks truck is there with those like spring rolls that are like big as your head.
I love those spring rolls. Those are out of this world, but they're in our world at the Northside Market.
Marie Young from Far Breton, she does beautiful pastries. She was posting up at Garver.
Girl, I've been there literally every weekend since we talked to her.
Fantastic.
Which is probably like 4 weeks ago.
She's amazing. I used to see her at Garver after I would get done with a yoga class, and I would just be like, oh, I got and then I couldn't decide, so I'd come with like 3 or 4 things.
And it's hard because they're all so good.
And Troy Farm is on the north side as well, and that's like their kind of, I think, home-based market. It's the closest one to them. So if you want to like get into some educational agriculture, you want to like get more involved, like Troy Farm is right near there, and they're also selling beautiful veggies at that north side market.
Oh, I love it. So we covered the weekend. Just, briefly, there are also markets on the weekdays. There are several on the south side.
Yes. So Centro Hispano has a market. That one's on Thursdays. That's the Mercadito. And there is the Wednesday market, which is on MLK Junior Drive. That one's great. And a lot of chefs go to that one because it's a little bit more accessible.
I've been to that one, actually.
Yeah. I usually, when I would go to the market on the east side, which is a Tuesday afternoon market from like 4 to 7, it's at Central Park now. And that one is really cool because Chrysalis Popsicles is there.
Chrysalis anything, but popsicles, it's the season. I'm so excited.
They're so good.
What's the popsicle? Yeah, because I haven't had them.
So Chrysalis Pops is I believe it's a nonprofit. It's a part of the Chrysalis Clubhouse, which provides services for people in mental health and substance use recovery. And they were getting their like fruits and veggies and things, not veggies really, but fruits from their own like farm. It was like locally produced popsicles. And they have wonderful flavors: strawberry lemon, strawberry rhubarb, cucumber mint with lime, which I loved.
There's that rhubarb again.
Yeah, they have a sweet corn popsicle, which is weird and delicious. They have a cold brew coffee one with salted vanilla. Like, their flavors are amazing. And so they are at the East Side Market, and I used to go and get a popsicle while I was picking up my CSA from Roots Down Community Farm. And that is another plug, I think, for a market. If you were looking and you're curious about community-supported agriculture, but you're like, it's veggies every week, I'm never going to use them all, I don't know how much I would use, and they're going to give me kohlrabi and I don't like kohlrabi, or whatever, having a market share is beautiful because you basically are signing up and you're still supporting the farm and you're a member of the farm, so you get all those benefits of being a member and that close connection with the farmer. But also, you're going to the market and you get to choose what you're getting. So
it's radical, literally,
yes,
down to the root. It is Roots Down Community Farm, CSA. Like, yes, we don't need that much kohlrabi.
There is so much cabbage and a head of cabbage. There's just so much cabbage.
Well, we're going to put links to all of these places in our show note. But, one thing that's also remarkable, a lot of these markets, they're like rain or shine, right?
Yes. Yeah, a lot of them are. And I've gone, I'm like, okay, is it raining right now? Okay, I can like slip over and just like grab a couple things and it starts to really come down and you're like, okay, go, But there's a feeling of solidarity too when people all show up and it's kind of a gross day and you're like, yeah, we're doing this together. We're supporting these farms. We are currently members of Vitruvian Farm, and Vitruvian also has a little market booth at the Monona Market where I usually go. But doing a CSA pickup at a market or doing a market share, I feel like is a great way to sort of know you're going to have some veggies or know that you're supporting a specific farm and have a little bit of the ability to plan because they tell you what you're going to get, kind of thing. But when I was picking up the CSA at the market, I was able to then like supplement and say, I do want some extra strawberries. It's strawberry season right now. I am going to get some more. So it's a nice combo.
This conversation has been way too beautiful. I need to cut this off right now. I am way too excited. Lindsay, thank you so much. So much to explore. And, checking out some of these smaller markets is quite enticing.
Yeah. And it's a great way to sort of see what's in season. And if nothing else, get yourself some flowers.
Get yourself some flowers.
We all deserve flowers.
Yeah, and Lindsay, I'm going to give you your flowers. Thank you for setting us up so well.
Sure thing.
That's Lindsay Christians, food editor at the Cap Times. We'll throw links to all the markets we talked about in today's show notes. And here's what else Madison's talking about. Some pretty big news hit our hamlet this week. A pro sports team seems headed for Madison, a women's Tier 1 professional soccer league. Who run the world? This would be a companion team to Forward Madison, our men's professional team. It's not yet a final deal. It's contingent on some renovations at Breeze Stevens Field to meet U.S. soccer standards. That said, Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway is on board. The team could hit the field as soon as fall 2025. We're not waiting with bated breath. It's cool. There's already a website. If you want to learn more, check out our show notes. And by the way, this is on top of the pro volleyball team that's coming next year. Feeling really shiny. But back to soccer, you know how Forward Madison has the flamingo pink everything? They just launched a team wine. the Chateau Mingo, a rosé, of course. It's from Wallersheim Winery in Prairie du Sac. That winery just reported that their red grape crop this year got wiped out due to early blooms and then frost. The Flamingo Rosé wasn't impacted, but woof. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your favorite farmer's market stand about us? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then,
Rosé all day.